Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking once again about the potential for a colder spell of weather to affect the UK and Ireland through the next couple of weeks, and then potentially looking at what could happen after that if we're going to see kind of more wintry weather. And I mentioned last time that there was a very low confidence on anything that would happen over the next week or so, especially with regards to cold weather, but that has now changed, and I'll get into that in a bit more detail now. So we're going to start off by looking at the computer models. So this is the GFS model that I'm showing you now, and this is the overview chart. So the black line, kind of these circles here, those are the ice bars, are lines of equal pressure. They show where the high and low pressure areas are, which are pretty important for controlling the general kind of weather pattern. And then the colours are the precipitation, blue and green and yellow, so you can see here. This scale here is rain, and then the purple stuff is snow. You can see we now have better agreement between the models on what's going to happen. And if I show you what the GFS thinks is going to happen, well, we've got our high pressure, which is currently bringing some more settled weather to most of the UK this week, though. So most of today and tomorrow will be kind of rain free for almost all of the UK and Ireland, but you can see perhaps some kind of showery rain starting to push in across the northern areas during later this week. And then the interesting change is that the position of this high pressure kind of changes its orientation. It moves slightly in this direction, and what that means is it brings in a northerly or kind of northwesterly colder flow of air, and this is around Thursday, so kind of towards the second half of the week, and that continues into Friday, where we then have a high pressure centered more to the kind of direct northwest of the UK, and you can see there it brings in some kind of very cold air, and even actually shows purple on the map, suggesting the risk of snow. But let's take a look at the upper air temperatures a bit more closely to give you a kind of idea of the type of air mass we're looking at. As you can see here, we've got those dark blue colours on the map covering almost all of the UK and Ireland, and just the far southwest of Ireland there, which isn't covered. But eventually we have that cold air remaining over the UK for a couple of days at the end of this week, and this technically is just about cold enough for snow. But I'll get into that risk a bit later, because I can already tell you it's not looking very exciting on the snow front. But to kind of still taking a look at the overall weather setup, to look at the GFS mean to have a better idea on the confidence, because this is kind of the average between the various different solutions. So it's kind of showing a more likely scenario than just one particular model run. But last time I showed you this, there was not a very clear signal for the weather situation by Thursday, Friday, but now we do have a better signal of the high pressure, which initially was bringing a kind of westerly flow like that, will orientate itself in a way that it then brings in a cold northerly. And you can see now we do have a better model agreement that by kind of Friday, Saturday, at least the northeastern half of the UK and Ireland will be under colder air, as you can see here. So definitely much better confidence now, and comparing to models such as the ECMWF, the European model, you can see it shows a similar thing here with cold air covering much of the UK and Ireland. There is a little bit of uncertainty to how far southwest this gets. For example, the European shows still mild air across southwest England and Ireland there, whereas the GFS, as I just showed you, has that further kind of to the southwest. But definitely for Scotland, most of England, Northern Ireland, we're going to be seeing colder weather through the end of this week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in terms of those kind of 4 days that I just mentioned, the snow risk, unfortunately, is not looking too good. You may notice here that we have the kind of purple colours showing up across northern Scotland here. And this is true that we could have some snow showers forming across northern areas, mainly just northern Scotland, and especially across high ground. Those could become kind of snowy, perhaps some accumulations across the mountains. I mean, not perhaps, there will probably be accumulations across the mountains, but as you can see here, the majority of the UK and Ireland remained shower free, so there's not even any precipitation, and even if there was, it would still be pretty marginal, really, probably not cold enough to see snow. And actually, kind of illustrating my point here, you can see those showers getting into parts of eastern England by Friday, and those are still in the kind of blue-green colour, so it's still rain. And bear in mind, this is just a kind of best guess at what the picture will look like. So it's not very high resolution, so it's not kind of depicting those showers as they would be in real life. That kind of gives you a general idea. And just looking at the European model, you can see similar thing. There will be a snow risk across kind of far northern Scotland, but for most of the UK and Ireland, that snow risk is not really worth noting. Maybe a bit of some kind of sleety stuff across eastern areas during kind of the weekend. But as you can see, nothing worth noting, nothing kind of worth getting excited, and definitely no significant snowfall in the kind of reliable time frame. In terms of kind of after the kind of mini cold spell, and it will be kind of dry, frosty, so definitely kind of wintry weather, or not wintry, but kind of seasonably cold weather for most of the UK. But after that spell, the uncertainty then does increase once again. So for example, if I show you the European model from this morning, after that we go back to a kind of more kind of just average kind of setup, high pressure dominating, so not as much rain and wind as before, but nothing really worth noting. But just to show you the uncertainty, that is varying massively from kind of the various different computer models. For example, the GFS brings back a high pressure to the west of the UK with a cold easterly/northeasterly flow, and then even in the model, so this is the 12 o'clock run that I'm showing you, the 6 o'clock run had a very different, very unsettled picture with big low pressure systems coming in and affecting the UK. So what this is really telling us is there is just a far too much uncertainty after about the weekend. So at this stage we don't know kind of what's going to happen. But to me, a very cold and snowy kind of situation, which a couple of models suggested. For example, yesterday there was the European, which produced a very exciting but very unlikely chart here. This kind of scenario does look, like I just said, unlikely. So don't get your hopes up. It's going to be cold and frosty during kind of the end of this week into the weekend. But in terms of snow, nothing kind of exciting, like I mentioned. And just to give you an idea of the kind of uncertainty that is at play, this is the ensemble chart which I showed last video, and you can see the lines are very close together with all the different ensemble members here, all the way up to our cold spell, and that's showing quite nicely how kind of from around Friday into early next week it does look like it's going to be cold, no snow, but cold and frosty. And then notice exactly after that the uncertainty massively increases once again, and we get a very wide range of solutions. So really anything is possible by the kind of beginning of December. It could either be very mild and unsettled, it could also be cold, but most likely it will be somewhere in between, probably rain, nothing particularly mild, just kind of average weather. But really anything is on the table, but that does not mean it is likely. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day, and bye bye.